real conversations, and some hard truths. Gangs, drugs, and guns. Giving a voice to those willing to sacrifice. We have stories that need to be told. We have lessons that need to be taught. Protect and serve. Welcome to The Quiet Professional. Hey everybody, welcome back. Nathan Rome is with you again. Today I have John Simpson back on the show. He previously appeared on season 2, episode 23, but in case you missed it, John is a veteran of the U.S. Army with over 40 years of practical experience. He's an instructor with Snipercraft Incorporated. He is also a research historian and has authored several books on the fundamentals and advanced tactics of marksmanship and sniper skills. Also, he's got a new book out, which he was kind enough to send ahead of time so I could read through it. Foundations of Patrol Rifle Marksmanship, which we will get into along with a bunch of other topics today. So, John, welcome back.
Good to be back.
We were just chatting kind of before we got this started, but you've got a bit of things going on in life. New book,
yep.
Grandkids maybe coming along the way here.
Yep.
You've been a busy guy.
yeah, trying to stay busy.
One thing I didn't ask you actually on the last show that I was thinking about today was, have you ever taken part in sniper competitions or any kind of shooting competitions yourself? I don't think we ever covered that.
No, I haven't. It's one of these things going back to my active duty time, just prior to retiring. It's like we at 10 Special Forces Group, we created what we're calling the International Sniper Competition at Fort Devens. And I was one of the organizers for that.
Oh, okay.
And so basically, when I was doing this, when I was on active duty, there really weren't a lot of sniper competitions that you could go to. And so the thing is, it's like this started off where the guys down at Fort Bragg had a sniper competition, and it was one of these deals where somebody in our chain of command was like, hey, we could do that. And 10 Special Forces Group, the focus is always on winter warfare, so we're like, hey, let's do a winter sniper competition. And And the trouble is, it's like everything always has to be a competition. So it was one of these things where, hey, we can call, so we're like calling all these military units, and then it was a case of, hey, let's leave it, let's get it open to law enforcement, and guys were going, hey, we can call the FBI. Oh, you're going to call the FBI? Well, I'm going to call the Secret Service. Oh, yeah, you're going to call,
So it just exploded.
Yeah, and the thing just snowballed, and it was a lot of fun. We had a known distance portion that I designed. We had a unknown distance field fire, and we had a urban shoot. The less said about the better. And the thing is, it was at this point in my career, it's like I was a couple years away from retirement, and I had actually designed the known distance course of fire to basically cut the legs out from all the ways that people normally cheat in sniper tests.
Okay.
So yeah, so for instance, without going into actually my very first book, which came out in 2010, called Sniper's Notebook, and it's only available through me. And I actually have a chapter in there where I talk about, I actually list the course of fire. So I won't go into the entire thing, but the one that I was most proud of, and we'll be talking about movers later, was basically the movers competition. And most people's moving target training is like, it's ridiculous. And so my partner at the time and I did is we, basically we came up with the normal sequence at the time. Like when you went to sniper school at Fort Bragg, you would get a left to right walker, a right to left walker, left to right fast walker, right to left fast walker,
Okay.
and then a running target. So what we did was we wrote that down. We cut out the individual slips of paper, tossed them into a beret, shook them up, and we would pull them out at random and then write them down on these cards. So we had a card for every firing point. And so basically we created randomized movers.
Okay.
So yeah, because there was this whole thing in SF at the time that, we were training people to engage these 600-yard movers. And I wanted to put the lie to that because it was, with a canned exercise, it's like, well, okay, yeah. So now it's going to be left to right mover, left to right at this speed, and we're going to lead at this much, on and on. And the thing is, it's like I was down in the pit running this thing, and my friend Mike was running the line, and said you should have seen the reaction the first time when we called the line hot, the targets came up. Some were on the left and some were on the right, and then they all took off at different speeds. And the results were pretty much as you would have expected. So it's like, so basically I was trying to inject some real world into this.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, yeah, you can, you take pride in the fact that, you went to a school where, yeah, technically you're shooting at 600-yard movers, but the thing is, it's like, in real life, if somebody comes, somebody starts he stops cooperating with your efforts to shoot him,
yeah,
and he's like 550 meters away. For your Canadian audience,
we appreciate that.
no problem. Yeah. So the thing is, it's like, you're shooting at somebody at 550 meters away. And if you don't know ahead of time the direction and the speed, then all of a sudden your mind goes into vapor lock and you're not able to do it.
The one thing I take away from that, though, is I like how you say they do like the little things to kind of cheat when they get to these tests or these tournaments. And I think about some of the stories I've heard with police. I've never done any of this, I swear on my life. But I've heard of people like, you're on the line to do your pistol qual. People leave their mag pouch snaps undone. It's just like one less step, one little thing,
right?
One less safety on the gun is holding you back. So they do all these little things.
Yeah. So the thing is, it's like, it's gamesmanship, and it just, so, staying in the sniper realm, I was watching a video of, a lot of people like reach out to, target shooters. And the thing is, it's like, there was this one interview of a world famous rifle shooter at like the SHOT Show, and he was given his advice on how to read the wind. And the thing is, it's like, a lot of snipers, I mean, hey, I could get advice from this guy to read the wind, do my job better. And like his number one thing is, hey, hold back a little. When the guy shooting next to you, when he's shooting at his bullseye target, wait until his target is marked and see where his spotter is, and then you can adjust the wind that way. And I'm going, yeah, I mean, how's that supposed to help me? Shooting some guy, 700 meters away.
Yeah.
Avoiding, not cooperating with my efforts to shoot him.
Two different goals, okay? Right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So,
we'll get into a whole bunch of that in the book when we talk about some of the stuff, because that is one of the main parts you have in there is about hitting moving targets. Maybe we'll kind of start there and just talk about this new book. I just want to kind of start the beginning of it though. And I was listening to you on, I hope I get the name right, Everyday Marksman podcast.
Yes.
So you were on that and you were talking about the new book a little bit. So for people who haven't heard that, but maybe you can tell us how this book kind of came to be. And it's very applicable to police. So hopefully people are paying attention here.
Right. So the credit for the idea of this book goes to Lieutenant Joe Bucco, who's the he is the law enforcement business development manager for my publisher, Blue 360 Media, and he's an active cop, and so as you know, my Blue 360 published the revised and expanded foundations of sniper rifle marksmanship.
Yes.
And I was sitting around talking to Joe, and he goes, there's a lot more police officers carrying patrol rifles than there are sniper rifles. And he goes, what would it, I'm thinking that, you could just go through this thing, scrub the word sniper and replace it with the word patrol rifle and, modify a couple things. And, you'd have a book on patrol rifle marksmanship. I was like, yeah, let me work on that. Well, turned out, just like most ideas that, you can sketch out on the back of a napkin at lunch, it's like, it looks really easy sitting there on the napkin, but putting it into practice is like extremely difficult. So, so it was one of these deals where, well, it's a different weapon system. For people that have read the first sniper, that read the sniper book, and when they read this, there's a couple chapters that we're able to carry over, and that was intentional.
Yeah.
But I had to. So basically, I had to address the situation. I had to address the weapon training from the ground up, and incorporate a lot of things that we used to do with iron-sighted rifles back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's like, I'm still extremely grateful to Joe for the idea, because the first thing that I did whenever I engage in a project like this, it's like you always want to do a what's called a literature review, and this is that research historian thing.
Okay.
So what you do is you have to, before you go out and change the world, you need to establish the baseline of where we are right now. Okay, so you have to know what it is before you try to improve something. And I have an entire chapter in the book on that.
Yep.
And so the thing is, it's like my friends in law enforcement were good enough to send me their training programs and a number of agency patrol rifle programs are public record. And I was able to look at that, and I saw a very disturbing trend where more often than not, and this isn't, this isn't every agency, but the thing is, this isn't the exception either. An agency makes the decision to have their officers carry patrol rifles. And, Nathan gets called in, this is your rifle. This is how you take it apart, put it together. Now go ahead, lay down on this range, shoot 20 rounds at this target 100 yards away, 100 meters away. And when you stand up, you're certified, you're qualified to operate a patrol rifle. And I'm going, that ain't going to work. Okay. I mean, I mentioned previously, and I covered this in the Everyday Marksman, is that what most people neglect to do is that you have to define the target, define the circumstances and define the target that you're going to be operating under. And then you work backwards from that to come up with your training standards. But the other thing that you have to do, and which I saved for your podcast, is you also have to come from the other direction, where you have to look at the weapon that you're now carrying, look at those capabilities,
Yes.
and then that moves forward. Okay, so you proceed forward from the capabilities of this new weapon, and then you proceed backwards from the desired target that you're going to engage, and then your training strategy is in the middle of that.
Yeah. So on that, and you bring up some good points. A few things here. One is, so I just did our carbine recertification, and in the course, they had a good part where they basically we have a 3-sided range, so 270-degree range, and they've got all these cars that are all shot up, but they put targets in the cars, behind the cars, and we don't have the capability to make the targets move, but we can move. So we're practicing shooting while walking, shooting, running to a point, then stop, shoot, shooting on different angles around pillars, around vehicles. So I thought that was a very good way to get us kind of moving and shooting and just seeing what it's like to be in those gunfights, because it does happen. And the other part was when you start the course, you deploy out of a car. So you're also getting used to having this rifle with a steering wheel in front of you.
Right.
And you're kind of jammed in this car, and your first 2 targets are standing right at the hood of your car. So now you got to try and get this thing up and wave it around and engage targets. So, the more training you can do like that, especially for police nowadays, that's very important. So the other thing I like about your book, and I wanted to say this, was the way you write is very much the way you talk. So it's kind of funny because you call out a lot of the myths and different things in your book and say, like, don't do it like this guy says, or don't do this, and here's the reasons why, and you back it up with some research. So I just really appreciate the way you write it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've actually heard that before. That's the secret to my success. I just write the way that I talk.
Probably the easiest. You just don't have to pretend to be anybody. You just write what you're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I'm teaching a class.
So talking about some of these moving targets, though, I guess what you were saying is like working from the target backwards. 4 characteristics of patrol rifle targets. So this is a section in the book, and I'm just going to talk about a couple sections. People can get the book if they want to read the whole thing. And I would honestly recommend for carbine programs, it would be nice, this is my opinion, it would be nice to have a book like this ahead of time, to almost read it before you go into the course. Because then there's just some things, like, you won't understand all of it, but things will start to click as you're going through and doing these. You're like, oh yeah, I read that, or this is what they meant by that, especially for the positions and how to structure your bones and get everything kind of lined up. But one of the big things there was 4 characteristics of a patrol rifle target. So there was dynamic, non-cooperative, robust, and restricted. So I just kind of want to go through each one of these with you, maybe have you kind of flesh them out.
Sure.
So with dynamic, so the target changing shape, you actually have quite a bit in there about target facing you as opposed to sideways. So you can just talk about some of that.
Sure. So basically, all you got to do is just look at yourself in the mirror when you're facing somebody. Typically you're, and I'm going to keep this in inches. It's like basically you're 19 inches across at the shoulders.
Yep.
And when you turn 90 degrees and you look at your image, now most, depending on the percentile, it's like most people are like 9 inches from their sternum to their spine. So the thing is, it's like the dimensions of the target have changed in relation to how it's turned towards you.
Yeah.
And then, as I say, basically, as far as changing shape, we have E and F type silhouettes in the States. And, the E type represents a kneeling man and the F type represents a prone man. And the thing is, it's like, well, when you give it a moment's thought, somebody who's standing can go to kneeling and then flatten out into prone, or somebody who's in the prone can, come up to kneeling. And the thing is, it's like, dynamic just means that, unlike the static targets that we're required to use, just looking at the outline, the target is literally changing shape.
Yes.
At a moment's notice. And we have to be able to accommodate that. And so, because once again, because these all build on each other. And one of the key things that I picked up in the 80s teaching at Fort Bragg was that, and this goes back into sniper marksmanship. Sniper marksmanship is actually rapid fire marksmanship. And the trouble is, it's like everybody wants to emphasize the slow fire because that produces the best groups. And it also, emphasizing the trigger squeeze and everything else. And the thing is, it's like once non-cooperative targets come into the picture, then all of a sudden doing this whole Danny Glover in the Lethal Weapon thing with, rolling your neck and, loosening your shoulders and, lining up for the shot. Then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, that is as stupid as, it appears.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, and this is actually all stuff that was known as, far back as the 1920s. If anybody looks at the work by William Fairbairn with the Shanghai Municipal Police, back in the early 1900s, like he was dealing with this stuff on a daily basis. And it just, unfortunately, in periods where you're not waking up, where you're not getting up every morning and getting into a gunfight in an opium den, then all of a sudden it's like, target shooting rules the day, particularly in the United States.
Yeah. Well, and even the dynamic part about it is, I think that also is a very easy way to dispel all these rumors or thoughts of, hey, why don't you just shoot the gun out of the person's hand? Why don't you just kneecap them? It's like, it's hard enough to hit the torso of something.
Correct.
I'm never going to hit the arm. That is pure luck. So
to address this at 10th Group, what we did is we created a compound target. And because our moving targets, was very sophisticated. We had, wooden stakes with that a guy would hold walking behind a berm. And we would, nail a cut down mover to it. And it was one of these things. I'm looking at this going, hey, wait a minute. Because I was always trying to get the guys to shoot faster. And one of the problems that you will see in sniping, just watch a video sometime of like military or, police snipers. And you'll see where they'll fire. And then you're just laying there behind the scope, looking through the scope. And they don't even work the bolt.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, well, dude, I mean, anything can happen. Right? You're now facing in the direction of the bad guy with an empty weapon, okay, an empty cartridge case in the chamber. So what we did is we took a cut down mover target, and then around the corner on the stake, we hammered up a full size silhouette, so that when we'd raise the full size silhouette over the berm, and then the guys would shoot at it. Well, the thing is, it's like, we tell them, hey, if somebody shoots it, what are you going to do? Are you going to stand there while they're going, while the partners are going, hey, where did that one go? I don't know. Hey, where were you aiming? Where did I tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
And and the thing is, it's like, so we'd have it where, hey, all of a sudden that target would now turn. It would become a cut down mover, and then they had to try and shoot it as it was like running away from it. It was like running to cover.
Okay. Yeah.
And that freaked people out. So, so it always came down to, like, look, I understand, and I make this point in the book. The key to understanding this stuff is that you go to the range as a means to an end, not as an end in itself. And I think that's where a lot of people just have a disconnect, where all that, they're worried about how they can do better on the range.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always translate into what's going to help them out in the street.
Yeah, you got to practice more of the realistic drills, not just go in for your quals,
right?
And that's all you do.
Yeah, and the way to do that is what, once again, you define the nature of the target and then work backwards from that.
Okay.
Because if you go to the range and come up with a capability, it may or may not deal with that particular target.
Mm-hmm.
But if you sit down and you stipulate, okay, this is what the target's, this is what the target is like. This is that's why I included that list of characteristics from the 1950s train fire program. I mean, train fire had some limitations and it had its controversies, but one of the things that, I can't disagree with is one of the main core things they did was they sat down with a sheet of paper and they said, okay, this is the target this is the characteristics of the target that we're going to design this training program for our trainees to hit. And and at the time it was just like, okay, so, in the 1957, it's like, okay, the majority of targets are going to be within 300 yards. So we're going to plan the training around that. And targets are often obscured, and we're going to deal with that. And then piece by piece, they came up with, okay, this is the training strategy to engage that target that we defined. And that was the inspiration for the whole 4 characteristics thing.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah. So with the dynamic, it's like basically targets can change shape and targets can move.
And it kind of it goes in tandem with this non-cooperative. So that's the other part.
Yes.
Where you're talking about the target is trying to avoid you. So now the target knows you're there.
Correct.
And they're doing things to actively evade you.
Right.
Maybe stacking things, fortifying, barricading.
Yeah. I mean, it's different from dynamic, because now they're like taking proactive measures, like concealing themselves, limiting their exposure, taking cover.
Yeah.
Shooting back. Okay. But they're not standing there waiting for you to get your act together with, rather than overthink it, I just keep coming back to, hey, they're not cooperating with your efforts to shoot them.
And you had a really good part in the book too about the using the iron sights between a rifle and a pistol, and how you were measuring.
Yes.
What do we call it? Like the plus minus error on like a distant target, though.
Yes.
And I just thought that was a really good explanation to show why a rifle is so effective,
right,
compared to a pistol, and just which one has its place and when. One is really good up close, for movement and different things. You have a pistol for that. The rifle has a lot more capability as soon as you start hitting a certain distance.
Right.
So yeah, I think people get a lot out of that part, especially people in training sections, tactical sections. That's a really good description, and you kind of go through all the measurements of, if people want to figure this out
right
for themselves. It was really useful.
Well, yeah, because one of Simpson's laws has always been, if I can't show you the math, it's just my opinion. And the trouble is that tends to make, Sniper's Notebook, that has like how everything was figured out, and all of these different formulas for like unknown distance shooting and everything else, and it intimidates a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, you know, 50 years from now, with a caliber that hasn't even been invented, somebody can like sit down with the sniper's notebook, go, okay, I'm going to plug these numbers in, and then I'm going to come up with the solutions for my current situation.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, so the thing is, so I included and you can tell by the ballistics section in the books that, basically I'm trying to get people to calm down, right? Because it's like they start to overthink this stuff. And as I've written before, a lot of these ballistics formulas were used by artillerymen for lobbing shells, a bazillion kilometers away.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, technically, yeah, you can take the numbers from a rifle and plug them into this formula, and you'll come up with an answer. But the thing is, it's like you're talking about a difference that makes absolutely no difference. So when I talk about powder temperature, I go into a number of pages and I actually I show an experiment that I did, which it's a summary because it actually takes up an entire chapter in the sniper's notebook. And the thing is, it's like it's just to show people that they can trust me when I tell them, yeah, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the thing is, it's like I included the stuff on, comparing the sight radius between sight radius for the audience is the distance between the back of the front sight and the front of the rear and the rear sight. So it's the distance. And that one you can do in centimeters. And so basically, the rule of thumb is that the longer the sight radius, the less critical the sight alignment is.
Yeah.
And a lot of target shooting books, they're going, well, yeah, you gotta line up the sights and everything like that. The sight alignment is so critical and everything. And it's like, yes, it's important. But the thing is, as I demonstrate in the patrol rifle book, basically, just for any law enforcement range where you're going to be using a 5.56 rifle or something like that, given the diameter of the rear sight and given the width of the front sight, as long as you can see that front sight in there, it doesn't matter if it's centered.
Yeah. Because we're not worried about putting one hole through the next hole. Like the bullet isn't just keep going. We're just trying to get rounds on target, not spraying everywhere, but rounds on target downrange.
Exactly. And it may not even be somebody that's trying to, shooting back at you. It's a case of, Repulsive Brogan is standing there with a Molotov cocktail, getting ready to throw it into a police car. And hey, you know what? School Solution says I got to shoot this guy. And so the thing is, it's like that isn't the time to start get your breathing cycle down.
Getting comfortable, adjusting.
Yeah. Check everything. And it was like. And the thing is, I can't even take credit for that. This was actually a lot of the stuff that's in the patrol rifle book. The credit actually goes to an organization in the U.S. Army called the Army Research Institute. And as much as people want to badmouth Army rifle marksmanship, these guys and gals, were tasked to do a research program to go, you know what? We've been staggering back and forth with all this stuff. And it's like, we want to have effective soldiers as far as rifle marksmanship goes. Why don't you do some research like they did back in the train fire days and figure out what the best practices are? And that was one of the things they did. They said, look, under the current program, there's too much emphasis on sight alignment. And they're the ones that first came up with, yeah, you can do the math where given the sight radius and the diameter of the rear sight and the width of the front sight, you can figure out that, well, as long as you can see the entire front sight somewhere within that little circle, this is the maximum error that you're going to have downrange. And then once you define the target, you go, well, I can live with that error.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Well, and speaking of the error, maybe we'll jump to the fourth point I had listed because it'll be super quick. Restricted. It's basically the policy, your organization's policy and use of force continuum and all the things that say when you can and can't shoot, or who's giving orders as opposed to reactive authority.
Yeah.
So that's restricted. But I want to go back to robust. So from what I understood with this one, this is talking about the type of round you're using and wound ballistics.
Correct. Yeah. So this is, and I don't get too much into wound ballistics in public forums. I learned wound ballistics from a very good friend of mine, the late Dr. Martin Fackler. And if you're in the business of someday maybe shooting somebody or getting shot out yourself, Martin Fackler is somebody that you need to base your life on his teachings. And he was, just real quick, he was a surgeon in Vietnam. Fast forward, as a colonel, he was asked to stand up and be the first and command the Army Wound Ballistics Laboratory out in Sidio in California. And if ever heard of anybody using, a certain percentage of ordnance gelatin to test the wounding potential of bullets, he's the guy that did that. He's the guy who came up with that.
Okay.
All right. And we got along really well because some of the titles of the articles that he would write was wound ballistics literature, a 20-year step backwards, or what's wrong with the current wound ballistics literature and why. And he was able to prove everything that he said, and he dispelled a lot of myths. And he's severely missed in the community.
Yeah.
And so if start Googling Martin Fackler, you can find a lot of his stuff online. And he basically he dispelled the whole hydrostatic shock nonsense, and a 5.56 will hollow a man out inside and everything else. So the thing is, it's like the best way to talk about wound ballistics, and I tell this to students, is exterior ballistics is like Newtonian physics. Okay, A times B always equals this. All right, and 2 + 2 = 4. And Newtonian physics, for something that was developed by Isaac Newton wearing a wig and everything else, that's still what we use to that's what NASA used to calculate the first trajectory to the moon for Apollo 8. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's exterior ballistics. Hey, you know what? This influence comes in. This is the time of flight of the bullet. I do this math. This is what I put on my sights.
Okay.
More often than not, it's right. Okay. That's exterior ballistics. Wound ballistics, that's like quantum mechanics. Okay. That's where nobody understands it. The people that are in it, it's like, yeah, okay, it's obvious, it's obvious to us, but trying to explain it to somebody,
yeah,
you have to come up with a thought experiment. And so basically, I tell people, I said, look, here's the problem with wound ballistics. You have identical twins standing side by side. You shoot them in the same spot with the same type of bullet from the same type of rifle on the same day. One of them drops down dead, and the other one yells, "Ow, why'd you shoot me?" And I go, and that is that's the simplest explanation of wound ballistics that I have.
I think it's a pretty good explanation.
Thanks. I've been like you say, I've been refining it for like the last 4 decades. But that's the problem with wound. And then when somebody wants you to explain wound ballistics, they always want you to do it standing on one foot. Okay.
Mm.
And you can't, because then you're talking about the center of gravity on the bullet, and the yaw factor and the stability factor, and and everything else.
Well, everything, and not even every round is made exactly the same. I mean, there's tolerances in different things, but you just truly never know. Maybe that kind of brings us on to one other thing, though, was a point that you wanted to talk about, this Ukraine miracle sniper. So what is this?
Okay.
I tried looking this up. I couldn't find much. So I'm wondering, I'm curious too.
Well, it kind of disappeared, but so basically, you can find this online, this 22 November 2022 article from Popular Mechanics magazine, and there was a writer by the name of Io Mizukami, and he published an essay titled "A Ukrainian Sniper Might Have Made the World's Second Farthest Kill." And so the Ukrainian army had announced that a sniper had made a shot killing a Russian soldier at a distance of 1.68 miles. And they supposedly had video evidence of this taken through from the digital feed off of a thermal weapon site.
Wow.
And so I got one of those calls from Derek Bartlett at Snipercraft.
Okay.
I would, and that's how these often start. Okay, because I'll be minding my own business. I mean, I'm in my office doing something that I think is reasonably important, and all of a sudden I either get a phone call or an email from Derek going, "Hey, I need an answer on this." And the upside is it usually turns into a pretty good article, or a pretty interesting article. So the announcement came from the Ukraine military on 13 November of 2022. And I actually had the official statement here, and I won't read the entire thing, but the occupier was eliminated by a precise shot of our commandos from a distance of 2,710 meters, a distance that now ranks second in the world, confirmed by the command of the armed forces. And then we'll remind that the first place in the world is occupied by a shot of a Canadian sniper at a distance of 3,540 meters while performing a task in Iraq. And then they were talking about Craig Harrison of the British Army, who they said they knocked out of second place. So the thing is, it's like, so this author in Popular Mechanics writes, quote, "Although the shot was difficult, it was not impossible, and the claim may well be true." And I responded by going, "Non-snipers talking about sniping are like virgins talking about sex. They do it with enthusiasm and ignorance." And this guy proved me right. Yeah, once again, he was doing stuff like, gravity is what slows down bullets. And I'm sitting here reading it going, yeah, stupid me. I always thought it was like, wind resistance. But anyway, so they assumed that they did it with a 14.5 millimeter sniper round. And so the thing is, it's like, because they had the video, I was able to do an analysis of it, because all you see is the white dot of the white blob of the Russian soldier coming up. You see the you see the image white out, because of the muzzle blast. And then after a period of time, you see the white blob drop down, supposedly dead. So, because in the States for testing new armored vehicles, the requirement is actually to use the 14.5 millimeter anti-armor round. So because of that, because we have because the U.S. military contracts to supply that, to get that round supplied to them for testing, we actually, I had access to what the ballistics are, so I was able to, basically figure out what the time of flight would be for that distance.
Yeah.
And so basically, it's like, and I'm going to have to swing back to yards again, but so
that's fine. People can figure it out if they need to.
Yeah, to fly 3,000 yards, it takes the bullet 6.48 seconds to fly that distance. And so the thing is, in the Ukraine video, they were basically saying that the bullet was able to cross that distance in like 2.74 seconds.
Okay.
So, over 6 seconds, under 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's quite a discrepancy.
Basically, the way that it works. Once again, this is ignorance of ballistics. It's a common mistake trying to figure out the time of flight for a bullet by looking at the muzzle velocity and dividing that into the range. So basically, when you look at the muzzle velocity of the bullet and you look at the distance fired, it would take like 2.74 seconds, but that's assuming that the bullet doesn't slow down.
Correct.
As it travels that distance. Okay, as it travels, 2750 meters. So the thing is, it's like, this one was extremely easy to bust, because whoever had come up with this press release hadn't looked into it and didn't realize that bullets slow down as they travel down range, and it doesn't arrive at the target as fast as it was traveling when it left the muzzle.
So is the British guy still number 2, or did you call up?
Yeah. Far as I know, Craig Harris. Yeah, Craig Harris. Former Corporal of Horse Craig Harris is still number 2.
Okay, good. Well, it's just funny how they make all these claims. And I always wondered that, how do you even confirm somebody 3 kilometers away behind enemy lines is dead? Like, maybe you grazed them and then they're concussed and just knocked out, or like, how do you know you actually killed them? So I always find those things fascinating. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about also one of the issues you were saying you saw at Sniper Week to do with fitness.
Yes.
What was this about?
Not so much Sniper. It was in general in connection with sniper craft.
Oh, okay.
So back in 2003, and this is why in the foundations of sniper marksmanship, I have the sniper functional fitness test.
Yes.
And then in that book, and then in the patrol rifle book, I also have I've got a section in there on how to perform an exercise called the pill-off press, which is, I don't know if you've tried it yet, but it's absolutely phenomenal as far as torsional stability, because through research I found out that and through my own personal experience, sit-ups of any kind are like one of the worst things that you can do to the human body over time.
Yeah.
And this is why so many veteran police and military are walking around looking like a human question mark with low back problems, because everybody thinks that sit-ups, either bent leg or anchored, unanchored, is some kind of abdominal exercise. And it actually overdevelops the hip flexor muscles, which, if you look in an anatomy textbook, look up the muscle called the psoas, psoas, and you'll see that it attaches to the front of the hip bone, passes through you, and attaches at the lower spine. This is the muscle that brings your nose to your knees.
Yeah, many cops have this problem.
Yeah. So if you look at the rectus abdominis, all right, the so-called six-pack, it attaches at the bottom of the rib cage and at the top of the pelvis. So there's absolutely no way that muscle can bring your chest up to your knees. All it can do is like curl. So anyway, anything to do with that, outside of the shooting, fitness is a big concern. In the military and also in law enforcement. But the thing is, it's like, there are a lot of out of shape cops out there. So I think it was like 2003. Yeah. I got one of those phone calls from Derek, and he was about as pissed off as I've ever heard him. And it's like, you've had him on the show. Derek, he just doesn't get upset that often. It's got to be something significant. So basically, it was like he'd had a class, and the sniper craft record fire requires a lot of running and physical exertion before you make the shot.
Okay.
And basically, he had a bunch of guys that had failed miserably. So he's like, I want to come up with a PT test. And he was inspired by the U.S. Marine Corps had just adopted what they called the combat fitness test, which was based off of functional fitness. And I'm a big fan of functional fitness tests, because when I first came in, we had a 5-event PT test, and it had like events like the run, dodge, and jump, and you had a horizontal ladder that you had to traverse, hand over hand, and a bunch of other stuff. At one time before I came in, it had a grenade toss. So when you did your when you did your PT test to be a soldier, it was like, hey, at least when we do this, we're going to find out, if this guy's coordinated enough to be able to throw a dummy hand grenade to hit that target. Well, the thing is, it's like, in the 80s, the Army came up with this stupid Army physical fitness test, which was 3 events, which was like push-ups, sit-ups, and a 2-mile run, and didn't require any apparatus, didn't require any special training, and it didn't actually prove anything.
Yeah.
And now fast forward.
I think we're going back to those kind of days, though.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's like, so fast forward in Afghanistan and Iraq, you get a couple of privates standing around. Platoon sergeant comes in, drops off a pallet of ammo, says, "Here, you and your partner there, go ahead and hand those shells up to the guy standing in the tank turret so he can stow them." And the thing is, you get somebody that scores, a maximum of 300 doing sit-ups, push-ups, and a 2-mile run. And when it comes to picking up a tank shell, pressing it overhead, handing it up to somebody, and then repeating it 48 times.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, yeah. So the thing is, it's like, yeah, maybe there is something to this functional fitness thing. And and then we got into the whole politics where, we mandated that, women have to be eligible for combat arms, but they're not scoring as well on the combat fitness test that the Army came up with. So they want to go back to the 3-event PT test.
Oh,
And yeah, and the thing is, it's like it was, and it's gender normed, it's gender and age normed. So a 21-year-old female gets the same score for doing fewer on an event than a male, which
yeah, you're getting the same points.
it's physical fitness. I mean, that's just anatomy. Okay. I mean, it's not measuring what you can do. It's measuring the effort that you can put into it. And I don't have a problem with that. Problem is when, the 343rd Mongolian Horde comes over the hill, and the last time I looked, the first point of performance isn't to drop down and start doing push-ups. Hey,
Yep.
so with a functional fitness test, we were looking at the stuff that hey, what does a police sniper have to do on a call out? So we had movement to contact, where they have to run and crawl and everything else. We had an overhead press with a cased rifle. We had the plank to measure true core strength, and we had the standing broad jump, and then the call out endurance. And that's like after everything has been done, you have to run approximately I think it's about 400 meters, and with your rifle. And oddly enough, there was and I write about this in the sniper book. There was a guy that was like, well, I just don't see the point of having to do this run at the end. And he was a cop in Arizona, and the thing is, it's like he got called out. He pulled up to the scene, like, where is it? It's like through there. Opens up his trunk, grabs his rifle, takes off running, and he ran. He had to run 400 meters from his car to where his position was.
Yeah.
And then set up and take a shot. And then basically he was just like, damn it, Derek was right. So,
well, and you're already doing all the other events. Why not just why would you worry about that at the end? Just do it.
because the thing is, it's like, so you've gone through all of this stuff. You've gone through all of these events, and then you have to do this, maximum effort run,
yep,
carrying your rifle at the end of the thing. And it's like, that's when people find out how much they have left in the tank.
Oh yeah.
After they've done their best.
But I'm saying for that,
on all the other events,
for that police officer, it's like, you've already gone through all these steps, and then you're going to just complain on the last event. Like, you're already here. Just do the test. Why would you be complaining at that point? Right. So, but one thing I want to make sure, just kind of, I thought I'd maybe get your insight on this, if you have any, was kind of the future of some firearms, maybe calibers, different things that you're seeing out there, some of the equipment. Do you have any kind of insight on what maybe is coming next? Because I watch a whole bunch of different videos, and people got I don't even know what they're called, but magnet guns now, and I don't know, are lasers coming soon?
I mean, part of the problem is people are just, and this isn't in every case, so please spare me the angry letters, but
mm-hmm.
A lot of people are just engaging in change for the sake of change. And it's not like, the way I put this is, it's not like they're bumping up against the capabilities of the 5.56 or the 7.62. It's just that, hey, this guy tinkering around came up with this round, and hey, I happen to like it, or I own a rifle that shoots this, and people are looking at it. When you look at the wide variety of rounds that are available for, like talking patrol rifle, when you're looking at the wide variety of rounds that are available in 5.56,
It's endless.
yeah, low velocity, high velocity, frangible, armor piercing, barrier penetration, stuff specifically for shooting glass. And then, all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm getting, I'm getting pretty good results with the, the 302 caliber, or, this 302 whiz bang load, and it's just like, I think for a lot of people, it's just human nature, but for a lot of people, it's just a case of, hey, this is different.
Yeah, the new shiny thing.
Yeah, yeah, and other than the cool factor, because the thing is, it's like we had back in the 80s at Fort Bragg, we had this with the sniper ammo that we used, it was full metal jacket. Well, the thing is, it's like there was this 168 grain bowtail hollow point match round, which was for like match competition. And what people didn't understand, so people were like, "Oh yeah, this is the bullet for us." And there was actually a military lawyer by the name of Hayes Parks, who also passed away. And he went ahead and he got authorization for military snipers to use essentially this ballistic hollow point. It wasn't a true hollow point. It wouldn't expand or anything like that. It's just the way that it was manufactured. There was just like a little hollow point. And the thing is, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, because this is an M118 special ball, which everybody else is using, we're going to use this high speed match ammo." Well, the thing is, it's like people didn't understand the match that was created for was the 300-meter match. And when it came to shooting like 550 meters, it turns out that it actually did worse in bucking the wind.
Yeah.
But because it was because it had this high neat factor and people didn't understand why it existed, it was like, "Oh yeah, we really love this round and everything else." And it also, more often than not, because it was a civilian manufacturer, it was like shooting smaller groups. But the thing is, it's like as far as sniping went, it's actually more difficult to use.
Well, and I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to knowing your target. What are you trying to accomplish? And then what your agency, or if you're in the military, what you're trying to do with the tools you're given, I guess. So a lot of different factors you got to take in. You can't just pick the round because it's the new shiny round.
Yeah. So let me ask you one. So what's your final verdict on the patrol rifle book?
I really like it. Like I was saying, I think we need something like that before you go into these courses. So our carbine course, it's a 5-day course, and they're full days. Like you're out there 8 solid hours at least. And it would be nice to go in, especially so for myself, I didn't have rifles before that.
Right.
And had no training. So you're kind of going in like not knowing what to expect. And I think having a book like that would be something that just kind of prepares you mentally for some of the things that you have to look for or pay attention to. Like I said, like if I have no idea about rifles and I'm reading the stuff about the sights and calculating distances and different things like that, that would go over my head. I think maybe some people who are more mathematically inclined than me might get it. But when it came to things about fitness, talking about manipulating the rifle. When what was the other thing we were talking about? The characteristics of the patrol rifle target. So just talking about the people you're going to deal with and what you're trying to accomplish by using this system. I think those are all very good things to get you in that mindset. So having these as kind of a book at the beginning, it's no different than some of the guests I've had on where they talk about their books on like PTSD and some of the things they've gone through on the job. Well, they give those things out to recruits at the kind of the end of their training as they're transitioning into the job. So, we're preparing people like, hey, here's how your family might have to look at things or deal with you, or how you can function when you go to some of these critical events. Maybe we have things like that for these courses, these more advanced skill courses, right? Because not everybody gets the rifle.
Right.
You usually have, for us, you have to have, I think it's still 2 years. You have to pin. It's called pin level shooter with your pistol. So you just have to show that, you've kept up skills and kind of been showing up to the range and practicing before they hand you another weapon system. So yeah, I think that's where it kind of fits in, and I found it really interesting. So
good. Because what I inadvertently created, thanks to Joe, and this is just dumb luck, so don't think I'm some kind of mastermind. I realized when I finished this book, so with the patrol rifle book, use it, that one is intended for, this is supposed to be the handbook that you give it to somebody ahead of time, but it's like they carry this along with them through their 5 days of patrol rifle training, and they become a patrol rifle operator with the agency. Fast forward down the road a couple years, they want to try out for the SWAT team and the sniper. Well, the thing is, now they get Foundations of Sniper Marksmanship.
Yeah.
By the same author with a lot of, with a number of the same chapters and the same principles in it. They now have a background in rifle from the patrol rifle book and carrying a patrol rifle in their unit. And now when they're transitioning over to being a SWAT sniper, now it's a lot, it's a lot easier. You don't have to make up so much ground on the basic rifle training, and then you can go into the actual sniper training of the concealment, the observation, the general subjects and everything else, along with the advanced rifle shooting with the scope. So now, with these two books, it's like a 1-2 punch.
Well, I think the trainers would appreciate it too when you come in and you have some base knowledge and some basic skills, and they don't have to spend, the first 2 or 5 days teaching you how to drive the car. And they can just, okay, we know you know how to drive a car. Now I'm going to start up here and go from there. We're going to go to the even more advanced stuff. So now everybody can use the same textbook, and basically, and I don't. There's no formal training program in the patrol rifle book, but basically it's a case of, hey, whatever the agency wants to do with their time and resources. Well, I mean, at the very least, I don't know, what do they put through here? Like a dozen people on a carbine course, buy a dozen books, give it to them, see if they, when they read it ahead of time and see what they think. If it works, it works. If they don't think it works, then I guess you just don't buy any more books. But I think it'd be useful. I think it's a place to start, and it's a different idea, something novel. So people should do, something just to push the program ahead. Just kind of at the end of our time here, I want to give you the opportunity to just say, you got any new projects coming up, and where people can follow you and your work?
Not at the moment. Best place to follow me is on LinkedIn. You posted the link to that last time. I was it again.
Yeah,
and
certainly.
But yeah, I'm more than happy to help people out. Working on putting together some courses on different subjects. Here in the American South southeast. But yeah, other than that, just
Keep him busy.
seeing what the next. Yeah, Joe has already said he's going to come up with a new idea for the next book, so I'm waiting on that.
Awesome. Well, I want to say thanks for coming on, and I'll say bye offline. So just hang tight.
Thanks for having me again. Always a pleasure.